Amid the noise and rush of the modern world, there still exist quiet villages tucked away deep in the mountains, across vast deserts or along windswept coastlines, places where time seems to have stood still. These are not just distant lands, but entire worlds of their own, where people live slowly and peacefully, surrounded by untouched nature. There is no internet, no bright neon lights, only the gentle sound of flowing streams, footsteps on dirt paths, and warm glances from strangers who feel like old friends. Each village holds a breath of the past, a memory that hasn't yet faded, a place that preserves the purity the world is slowly losing. The journey to these places is not just a trip, it is a return. A return to the quiet values, the depth and the softness hidden deep within the human soul. Adak is located on a remote island in the North Pacific Ocean and was a major military base during World War II and the Cold War period. Its terrain is divided by volcanic mountains, deep bays, and frozen plains shaped by strong winds and coastal erosion. Since the military withdrawal, many areas on the island have been abandoned and remain poorly surveyed, including underground structures and tunnel systems with unknown purposes. Some mysterious light phenomena were reported near old facilities, but there are no verified records or clear explanations. Notably, the island sits on an active tectonic fault, but related geological data is scarce and not publicly released. The mix of military history, harsh natural conditions, and a lack of transparent research makes Adak a remote location full of unanswered questions. Chefchaouen is a mountain town deep in the Rift Range, historically isolated for centuries due to the absence of direct routes to coastal cities. Access to the area used to rely on mountain paths, which limited terrain data and satellite imagery until the late 20th century. The town is known for its uniform blue-painted architecture, maintained not through formal urban planning, but by long-standing community practices. For years, anthropological researchers faced difficulties in gaining access due to cultural privacy and a history linked to displaced populations. Beyond the tourist core, there are residential zones without official census data or outside government-defined urban limits. Chefchaoun's overall structure combines obscured geography with a locally sustained settlement model independent of standard administrative frameworks. Dalkehui is a coastal village located on the Chiloé archipelago, historically isolated for centuries due to the absence of land bridges and a dense network of surrounding channels. Most access to the area still relies on small boats and local ferries, as interregional road infrastructure remains underdeveloped. The village preserves traditional practices of local communities, including wooden stilt houses and survival methods independent of modern supply systems. Some bayside settlements in Dalkehui lack detailed mapping and were excluded from administrative records in the early 20th century due to low population and difficult access. Notably, certain old wooden architectural structures exist outside formal heritage programs, leading to gaps in preservation records. Dalkehui today stands as a rare example of a long-inhabited community that has not been fully integrated into the national administrative framework. Longyearbyen is in the Arctic and is one of the northernmost towns with a year-round commercial airport, but it has no road connections to other places. Houses are built on tall stilts to avoid melting the permafrost and painted in bright colors to stand out in thick snow. The town has no cemetery because bodies cannot decompose in frozen ground, and doors are usually left unlocked in case of emergencies or polar bear threats. Residents come from many countries and live under local self-rules, adapted to the cold climate and seasonal light changes. In winter, the town stays dark for over 3 months, while in summer, there are more than 2 months of daylight without night. Visitors can join snowmobile tours, explore ice caves, or go aurora hunting and visit the global seed vault built into the frozen ground. Potosi was once a major colonial silver mining hub, but today it functions as an isolated settlement located deep in Bolivia's arid and steep southern terrain. Access to the region still depends mainly on winding routes through harsh highlands, which limit transportation and supply chains seasonally. Although it had the largest population in the continent during the 17th century, many surrounding settlements are now abandoned, leaving behind a network of unsurveyed ruins. Some areas around Potosi are excluded from modern mapping due to technical constraints or restrictions from local authorities. In addition, many old underground mine shafts remain undocumented, causing occasional surface collapses in inhabited areas. The tension between its historic mining legacy and current geographic neglect makes Potosi a marginal zone disconnected from contemporary urban development in South America. Hoi An sits on the lower part of a large river and served as an international trading port from the 16th century, where Vietnamese, Chinese, Japanese, and European merchants met for centuries. Although it has many preserved old buildings, the foundations under them have not been excavated because high moisture can weaken the structure and damage materials. During flood season, some streets become shallow canals and reflect the ancient buildings clearly in the water in a way modern designs cannot copy. Locals have reported seeing slow-moving light streaks over the water on certain nights, that make no sound and do not match any festival or religious event. Some historic structures are only partly studied due to strict conservation rules and the challenges of a tropical monsoon environment. Hoi An remains one of the few places in the world where an old town layout is fully preserved and still used in daily life. In the arid and rugged western region of China, a seemingly forgotten ancient city hides beyond long stretches of sand and rock. Kashgar can only be accessed by traveling over 930 Mai or through rare flights, followed by a bus ride across the steppe into this isolated urban center. What makes this place stand out is its residential quarters built entirely from rammed earth and fired bricks, linked by a dense network of alleys and enclosed courtyards. In a setting that feels frozen in time, locals still practice traditional crafts like forging, silk weaving, and spice trading in vibrant open-air markets. At night, visitors can join weaving workshops, taste freshly baked clay oven bread, or sit in brick courtyards, listening to live performances with string instruments and hand drums. The strong connection between the physical setting and community life creates a complete and tangible experience marked by the mystery of a near-forgotten frontier town. Chonchi is a small town in the southern part of Chiloe Island, which for years lacked formal transportation routes and was only reachable by wooden boats through narrow inlets. Its location between humid forests and unstable slopes has significantly limited infrastructure development. Parts of the population live along unnamed waterfront areas, and many nearby zones still lack detailed topographic data. Some of Chonchi's wooden churches, centuries old, remain undocumented in official heritage registers due to locally managed preservation systems. Population outflow from interior settlements due to lack of public services has led to abandoned villages with no administrative updates. The dispersed settlement pattern, limited accessibility, and presence of unmapped zones make Chonchi a peripheral site within Chile's national settlement structure. Røros is a historic town in central Norway, known for its 17th century mining legacy, yet structured around settlement and governance models that diverge from modern urban norms. Located on a high plateau with harsh winters, Røros lacked fixed transportation routes for parts of the year, disrupting logistics and limiting geographic data updates. Although recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, much of the old settlement remains excluded from detailed digital mapping due to narrow, non-standard street layouts. Many properties are inherited across generations without full cadastral registration, creating administrative gaps in land management. Former mines and underground structures have not been fully surveyed, leaving three-dimensional spatial data incomplete in planning records. Preserved largely through continuity rather than modernization, Røros stands as a rare example of a historic town functioning outside Norway's conventional administrative frameworks. Røros is isolated in the wilderness of central Norway, where long winters keep the ground covered in snow for several months. The town is known for over 80 preserved wooden houses from the 17th and 18th centuries, with dark wood walls and moss-covered sloped roofs, forming a rare and unified landscape. People still live in these old houses and continue traditional crafts like wool weaving, metalworking, and leather crafting. Each year, Røros holds a major winter fair where locals wear historical clothing and reenact old trade activities, drawing many visitors. In the cold season, tourists can ride sleds pulled by dogs or horses, explore abandoned mining tunnels, and sleep in wooden cabins surrounded by snow. Those interested in local life can talk to traditional artisans or try local dishes made from reindeer meat and sheep milk. Trial Bay is a remote coastal region on Australia's eastern shore, enclosed by low mountain ranges and tidal wetlands, which for decades lacked connection to federal transport networks. Seasonal access is restricted due to mixed sand-mud terrain and seawater intrusion, rendering some roads unusable year-round. Several former residential areas near the bay are still missing from digital mapping systems or fall outside official administrative designations due to unstable population levels. Historically, the site served as an isolated prison camp in the late 19th century, with many original structures never fully surveyed or heritage listed. Blending unstable terrain, isolated historical use, and a lack of updated data, Trial Bay remains a semi-abandoned area that continues to sustain localized habitation under self-managed conditions. Giethoorn is located in the northern flatlands of the Netherlands, where a dense network of canals completely replaces traditional car roads, creating a unique and isolated transportation layout. People and visitors move mainly by rowing boats or small silent motorboats, while on land they walk or cycle across narrow paths and curved wooden bridges over the canals. The houses are made of brick with thatched or tiled roofs, built close to the water, with neatly trimmed garden yards and hedges, showing a balance between daily life and the natural surroundings. Local residents live at a calm pace, focusing on gardening, traditional crafts, and small-scale tourism services while keeping the area quiet and preserving cultural customs. Visitors often enjoy boat rides along the canals to view village architecture from the water, cycling through open green fields, and staying in canal-side homes to experience a peaceful setting rarely found in modern neighborhoods. Hallstatt is squeezed between steep limestone cliffs and a deep lake, making it accessible only by a single tunnel road or by boat, especially during winter when roads often freeze. Old wooden houses are tightly packed on narrow terraces, many built on stilts extending over the lake to avoid landslides from the cliffs behind. With a population of about 700, daily activities are shaped by the steep terrain, requiring pulley systems or small custom vehicles for moving goods. Although now well known, the community maintains ancient customs like the Salt Opening Festival, and the tradition of moving remains into a collective ossuary due to limited graveyard space. Stone structures in the village center still follow 16th century designs and were built using traditional methods without modern reinforcement. For a long time, local authorities restricted mobile signals and limited motorized access to preserve the original landscape. Reyna sits on a far northern coastal strip of Norway, squeezed between steep cliffs and a cold sea, and the only access is a narrow fjord road that uses small bridges and ferries. The isolated position and constant storms and frost let the village keep its untouched landscape, with almost no modern industry or heavy traffic. Local buildings are small wooden cabins painted red or white, set on stilts by the water, with simple but strong frames that handle Atlantic winds and changing tides. a small community lives mainly by fishing, drying seafood, and mending nets in front yards, creating a slow rhythm closely tied to the sea. Visitors often kayak between rocky points, fish in deep cold waters, or hike up slopes to watch the sea surface change color under Arctic clouds. On clear nights, the absence of artificial light lets people easily see the northern lights glowing right above the cabin roofs. Itokortormit is one of the most isolated towns in the world, only reachable by helicopter or boat during a few summer weeks when the ice melts. The town is surrounded by sea ice and rocky mountains, cutting it off from transportation for most of the year. People still hunt seals and small whales using survival skills like building kayaks and working with animal hides for daily life. Visitors can take dog sled tours across glaciers or watch whales and walruses in icy waters. Other activities include ice fishing and learning how to make animal skin clothing with local artisans. In winter, the entire town remains in long darkness, with no modern transport reaching it from outside. Kampung Naga is hidden among dense bamboo forests and sloping hills, fully separated from modern settlements, and reachable only by walking down hundreds of stone steps into the valley. The entire village is built from natural materials like wood, bamboo, and palm leaves, forming a living space that strictly follows ancestral rules preserved over generations. The people do not use electricity, reject modern technology, and maintain strict rituals honoring ancestors through scheduled ceremonies. Each family lives in a low, stilt house, arranged in a fixed order to maintain balance within the village. Community activities take place in the central earthen yard, where residents weave, pound rice, and perform traditional rituals together. Visitors must follow strict rules and are not allowed to stay overnight, but they can still experience a secluded lifestyle where time seems to have paused. Gasadalur was once entirely cut off from the rest of the Faroe Islands, with 3 sides blocked by steep mountains and the 4th by deep ocean cliffs, inaccessible by regular boats. Before 2004, all travel required climbing a 400-meter mountain pass, and in winter, the mail carrier had to use wooden ladders over icy rock faces. Houses have no numbers, and each is identified by the nearest mountain peak and the direction of the wind passing through the main yard. A tunnel now passes through the mountain, but villagers still close all doors at sunset, even in summer, when daylight continues for most of the night. One house remains unoccupied, but is cleaned weekly, with its key hanging on a nameless wooden post, known to everyone but never taken. Near the path leading to the cliff edge stands a flat stone beside 2 upright rocks with no markings and not shown on any existing maps. Cudillero is located on the northern coast of Spain, surrounded by cliffs and steep hills with access through narrow winding roads disconnected from major highways. The village has colorful houses built along the slope, where each rooftop connects to the back of the house above, forming a continuous terrace toward the sea. On foggy days, the entire village becomes hidden, and only the sound of waves and footsteps on stone steps can be heard. Walkways are made of steep stone stairs running through narrow alleys from the water's edge up to the highest homes. Residents maintain communal routines on doorsteps, with shared fish rituals and duet singing after each market day. Visitors can view the whole village from high points and take part in daily life with local people. Ilulissat is a coastal settlement in western Greenland, located adjacent to the Kujalleq Glacier, one of the world's fastest-moving ice streams, creating unstable and unpredictable geographic conditions. The town has no road connections to other locations, relying entirely on seasonal ship routes and small aircraft, both severely limited by weather and climate. Although Ilulissat is Greenland's third largest population center, many of its outlying areas remain unsurveyed due to permafrost and terrain fractures that hinder mapping. Land tenure does not follow standard legal frameworks, but is allocated through community-based systems under regional oversight, leaving many areas without precise administrative records. Additionally, ongoing shifts in topography caused by ice melt render digital maps quickly outdated and unreliable over time. Ilulissat stands as a prime example of a subarctic settlement where natural forces, governance, and technical data remain in a constant state of flux. Ain is a coastal fishing village in Kyoto Prefecture, known for its traditional wooden funaya boathouses built directly along the waterline, but not incorporated into modern urban planning due to narrow terrain and non-standard architecture. The village is enclosed by mountains and sea, forming a shoreline settlement where access roads are limited and frequently affected by high waves and hailstorms. Many households lack formal land ownership documentation, as coastal plots were historically excluded from the cadastral system, creating a mismatch between actual space and legal records. Most Funaya homes are passed down through generations via informal systems with no formal sales or state-recognized property transfers. Digital maps of the waterfront remain imprecise or misaligned due to the technical challenges of measuring from sea-facing structures. Ina stands as a living example of a traditional maritime settlement that coexists with but remains partly outside Japan's formal administrative framework. Gjirokasta is an ancient hillside city built along the slopes of the Drino Mountains in southern Albania, where tiered stone houses and steep gradients restrict digital mapping and infrastructure development. Despite its UNESCO World Heritage status, many residential zones lack complete cadastral data due to intra-family property transfers that bypass the national legal system. Steep stone alleys and irregular foundations hinder technical surveys, leaving multiple areas unaccounted for in official three-dimensional planning. Portions of the water and electricity systems are community-maintained in non-uniform setups, contributing to inconsistent public infrastructure records. Gjirokasta represents a clear case of a heritage settlement caught between cultural preservation and the administrative fragmentation of modern governance. Colmar is a historic town in France's Alsace region, noted for its inner-city canals and preserved half-timbered Renaissance architecture maintained over centuries. Although part of the national administrative framework, many residential properties in Colmar's old town follow traditional ownership models and remain unaligned with digital cadastral systems, especially heritage homes without clearly defined lot boundaries. Narrow, cobbled streets, uneven foundations, and uncharted underground cellars complicate 3D mapping and technical documentation. Outside officially monitored preservation zones, some residential buildings remain beyond the scope of national heritage management programs. Colmar stands as a clear example of a culturally significant settlement that retains portions not fully incorporated into France's contemporary administrative and technical planning systems. Chiricahuago is deep in a mountain valley, surrounded by forests and winding passes, which made it isolated from the rest of the country for a long time. Access to the village used to be very limited, especially in winter when heavy snowfall made travel difficult, helping the area preserve its original rural structure and lifestyle. The traditional houses here are built in the Gashozukuri style, with steep, triangle-shaped thatched roofs designed to let snow slide off easily during harsh winters. Each roof is over 20 inches thick, made from tightly packed straw without using nails, which helps to keep warmth during the cold season and allow airflow in warmer months. Local families live together across generations under one roof, sharing farming work and maintaining old handcrafts as part of their daily routine. Visitors can stay overnight in old houses, cook with locals using wood stoves, or join the Winter Light Festival to experience the unique rhythm of mountain life. Civita di Bagnoregio stands on a thinning rock mass where sections of land collapse every year without triggering any measurable warnings. The stone bridge into the village has no turns or branches, and locals say it remains the only path because all others vanished in earlier landslides. No motor vehicles are present, and all supplies are moved by hand using stone carts over roads shaped entirely by natural slopes. Some houses have never replaced their doors and still carry black burn marks from a fire decades ago, preserved exactly as they were. The central stone well is sealed with cement and never used, yet once a year, an elder stands beside it in silence, and no one is allowed to ask why. Each remaining family keeps a written lineage book that cannot be read unless every person born in the village is present. Sapa is located on a plateau surrounded by misty mountains, and a winding steep pass is the only access, so the town keeps a distinct isolation from large cities. The rugged terrain limits large vehicles, so the terraced fields and primary forest remain intact, showing the durable adaptability of highland residents. The architecture combines wooden houses with sloping stone tile roofs and solid stone buildings, all facing south to avoid strong winds, and small windows conserve heat, creating a unified look. The population consists of ethnic minority groups who preserve language, clothing, and seasonal festivals, turning daily life into a living museum of mountain culture. When early fog covers the plateau, wooden roofs and rice fields reflect the first sunlight, encouraging guests to keep exploring the surrounding hiking routes. Setenil de las Bodegas is built along a narrow canyon with steep limestone walls, giving it a special location that is both isolated and hard to reach by regular transport. The roads leading into the town are small, steep, and winding, allowing only the small vehicles and minimizing modern traffic flow. The most unique feature is the houses built directly into the rock, using large overhanging stone as natural roofs to form living spaces adapted to the terrain. Thanks to this design, the homes stay cool in summer and warm in winter without needing complex temperature control systems. Local residents mostly work in small-scale farming, wine production, and traditional crafts, maintaining a lifestyle closely tied to nature and local customs. Visitors are often drawn to the unusual experience of walking under massive stone ceilings and enjoying local meals served inside rock-carved homes beneath the cliffs. Bibury is located in the countryside of southwest England, surrounded by low grassy hills and a small river that runs through the village, forming a closed landscape separated from major roads. The village is only accessible by narrow lanes for small cars and bicycles, with no regular public buses, so the number of visitors is naturally limited. The architecture features houses made of pale yellow sandstone, with flat stone roofs, wooden doors, and small windows preserved in the style of the 17th century. These houses are usually built close together, lined along stone-paved paths and beside the river, forming a simple but organized layout that fits the natural surroundings. Residents make a living from crafts, gardening, and small shops, maintaining a peaceful lifestyle that has hardly been changed by urbanization. Visitors often walk through the village, take photos of the stone architecture, stroll by the water, and explore local shops selling handmade goods made in the area. Perched high on a hill facing the Mediterranean, seaside has no welcome gate or entrance sign, yet every uphill step leads into a world without engine sounds. As visitors go deeper, they notice not a single house breaks the white and blue rule, a consistency not enforced by law, but kept alive by generations. The low homes with arches, deep blue shutters, and curved iron balconies are not only decorative, but designed to catch sea breezes on hot days. on every stone corner. Family-run cafes with panoramic ocean views serve drinks and stories, where the server is often the village's storyteller. There are no loudspeakers or signs, yet residents open windows to sell paintings, pottery, or invite visitors into small workshops tucked behind gardens. Each evening, as the sun tilts and white walls turn gold, human shadows stretch across the stone. The village becomes a living exhibit without a stage. Todos Santos was once listed on maps with the full name Todos Santos de la Niebla, but the final part disappeared from all official records after 1977 without any correction entry. Many houses in the village contain an unused extra room that connects to no door and is cleaned on a fixed day by the oldest family member. On certain nights during the year, electric lights in some areas dim without power cuts and return at the same time without being switched. One adobe-walled house near the village center has no registered resident, no utilities, and yet its door closes at 6 every evening. Several families still avoid using clocks and measure time only by the shadow cast from a fixed object in their yard passed down through generations. In Cuba Pedy, you can drink coffee, attend church, go shopping, and stay in a hotel without ever leaving the ground. This town is located in one of the driest deserts of southern Australia, where daytime temperatures often go above 104 degrees, and the surface becomes too hot for daily life. Travelers must drive hundreds of miles along empty roads with no rest stops, no signs, and no trees to reach this isolated place. Every building, including homes, stores, bars, churches, and hotels, is carved into the sandstone, creating dugouts that stay cool all year without air conditioning. Visitors can try gemstone hunting tour, real underground homes, and stay in an underground hotel where everything is built to survive in Australia's toughest climate. Ping'an is located on a mountain slope in southern China, where terraced fields follow the curves of the land and are surrounded by bamboo forests and tea hills, creating an enclosed and hidden space. To enter the village, visitors must travel through winding mountain roads and then walk up hundreds of stone steps because cars cannot reach the center. This limited access has helped the village stay free from mass tourism and preserve its traditional lifestyle and layout. Visitors can walk among the terraced levels, stay in traditional wooden houses, watch the morning fog drift past rooftops, and learn about highland life through local farming and crafts. At the top of a limestone hill, surrounded by endless lavender fields, stands a spiral-shaped village where every path leads to a rotunda nearly 1,000 years old. Simian-la-Rotonde is located in southeastern France, where hilly terrain and a dry, sunny climate create both a distinctive and secluded setting. Access roads are narrow and winding, clinging to the hillside and allowing only small vehicles, often restricted in high season, to protect the historic site. Stone houses with dark red tile roofs are built into the slope, and curved iron windows open to the valley, forming a layout tightly connected to the terrain. Visitors can tour oil distilleries, walk through blooming lavender fields in summer, enjoy meals in stone courtyards, and observe how residents live in harmony with the Provence landscape. The main village on Folegandros is built along the edge of a high cliff where all buildings face the sea wind, but follow no official planning layout. Some narrow stone paths end abruptly at blank white walls, and locals say they remain unchanged since the village began. In the central area, there is a stone-paved courtyard that becomes unlit every evening as nearby lights turn off without using sensors. Near the cliff edge, there is a low wooden door, pressed to the ground with no markings and no clear explanation about its purpose or origin. Castellfollit de la Roca exists on a narrow basalt formation more than 160 feet high and draws immediate attention due to its completely isolated position in the hills. There is only one access road to the village, winding through steep turns and dense forest, making every approach a distinctive journey. The entire residential area is built along the edge of the cliff using distinctive black basalt stone, forming a unified structure embedded in the natural rock. Locals primarily rely on small-scale agriculture and continue communal living traditions in small paved squares. Standing in the village and looking into the open space below, many visitors clearly feel the height and unique structure that few other places can replicate. Supai is the only village in the United States where all mail is delivered by mule due to the steep canyon terrain and lack of motor road access. Located deep within the Grand Canyon, the village is isolated and reachable only by helicopter horseback or a 9-mile hiking trail. Many houses are built using local red rock with traditional hand techniques and have no formal architectural blueprints. Water is supplied through natural diversion channels controlled by small wooden dams maintained seasonally by villagers. Some interior paths have no signs and are known only to locals who memorize their layout through oral transmission. Bukchon Hanok is one of the few villages preserving traditional living in an urban center with over 900 wooden Hanok homes continuously inhabited across generations. Many houses have no solid fences, but are separated by low stones or bamboo lines, making the boundary between public and private space unclear. Some winding stone paths have no street names and lead to unmarked dead ends, known only by long-term residents. Visitors can join calligraphy classes in courtyard homes, wear traditional hanbok, or take part in tea ceremonies inside rooms without electricity. A few families still keep hand-drawn building plans from their ancestors that are shared only within the household and never made public. Located on a dry plateau in northern Chile, Putre appears in a landscape of stone and thin air, accessible only by long mountain routes. This town remains separated from the outside, where silence and slow rhythms are uninterrupted by modern elements. The houses are built from local stone and clay, with low roofs and thick walls to adapt to sudden temperature changes between day and night. Most residents are Aymara people who live by terraced farming, perform rituals tied to the seasons, and preserve their language and customs. Visitors can join in weaving alpaca wool, try dishes made from quinoa, and watch the night sky in complete stillness. Each activity in Putre reflects the strong connection between people and the demanding life conditions of this mountain region. Tofino is a coastal settlement on Vancouver Island, entirely separated from major urban centers due to its surrounding old-growth forests, mountains, and complex marine terrain. Access to this area is limited, possible only through narrow forest roads or by float plane from the mainland. This geographical setup has allowed its temperate rainforest and shoreline ecosystems to remain less altered than any other coastal zone in Canada. In 1993, a series of large-scale protests against clay-quot logging operations took place here, lasting several months and drawing international attention. Following that event, parts of the surrounding region were excluded from formal survey programs and remain closed to general research. The preserved ecological structure, combined with a strong history of local resistance, has made Tofino one of the most distinct and least accessible coastal villages in North America. Jenné is located in the floodplain of the Niger River Basin, where access was historically cut off during rainy seasons due to the absence of fixed roads and reliance on water levels. Even today, some entry routes still depend on dirt roads prone to washing out, limiting transport of survey equipment and field data collection. Jenné is known for its unique earthen architecture, including major structures built without concrete or steel, constructed through orally transmitted traditional techniques. These forms are maintained by local communities rather than through national preservation systems, resulting in a lack of formal architectural records. Jenné is now considered a historical core with a particularly enclosed character, where natural conditions and tradition-based construction persist independently of modern planning systems. Bamaga is one of the few settlements in Australia's far north where fragmented island-like geography combines with a lack of continuous land transport to the mainland. Located near the Torres Strait edge, it is entirely disconnected from major administrative centres and often loses ground access due to seasonal road washouts. Supply lines rely mainly on aircraft or specialized vehicles, severely limiting field surveys and mapping efforts. Most of the population holds land under collective indigenous tenure, bypassing standard registration systems and leaving many nearby boundaries undefined. This non-linear settlement structure, combined with access constraints and an autonomous land use regime makes Bamaga one of the most administratively and geographically detached communities in Australia. Portobello is located on the Otago Peninsula, separated from Dunedin's urban core by steep hills and deep inland bays. For decades, the area lacked direct road connections, relying on narrow coastal routes prone to erosion, which delayed geographic surveys and administrative integration. Some coastal settlements have yet to be fully updated on digital maps due to shifting landforms and traditional land use. The local population includes long-established settler families who pass down land informally, leaving parts of the area without official land ownership records. Portobello now stands as a transitional zone between urban development and rural autonomy, where residential patterns and administrative frameworks do not fully align. Nam Du is a group of offshore islands in southwestern Vietnam, located deep in the Gulf of Thailand and distant enough from the mainland to rely entirely on limited-schedule sea transport. With no standardized ports or synchronized infrastructure, logistics, survey equipment, and administrative data transfers are frequently disrupted, especially during stormy seasons. Scattered settlements on smaller islands remain missing from digital maps or lack formal land records due to unplanned settlement history. Land tenure is largely based on verbal agreements or handwritten documents, unregistered in the national legal system, leaving many zones off-grid. Nam Du is now a prime example of an independently surviving maritime community where geographic, legal, and administrative data remain fragmented. Monamvasia is an ancient settlement located on a coastal rock formation detached from the Peloponnese mainland, connected by a single narrow causeway and historically isolated for centuries. Its steep terrain, stone fortifications, and medieval urban layout make it incompatible with modern transportation and planning systems. Many internal areas remain unmapped in detail due to narrow passageways, complex structures, and hereditary land ownership unrecorded in national cadastres. The resident community operates within a closed model, where most properties lack formal legal documentation and heritage structures fall outside state conservation oversight. Several underground chambers and medieval foundations have never been officially surveyed, leaving spatial gaps in current cartographic data. Monemvasia continues to function as a self-regulated historic enclave, distinctly separate from Greece's standard administrative frameworks. Dongvan is a mountainous settlement deep within the karst highlands of Harjang, where the terrain is divided by vertical limestone ranges, deep ravines, and narrow gorges, severely limiting modern access. In earlier decades, the area was cut off for months each year, and even today, many hamlets remain unreachable by paved roads or motor vehicles. Official cadastral maps cover only administrative centers, while numerous hillside dwellings lack detailed survey data or are not registered in the national land system. Land tenure is primarily based on community tradition and generational verbal agreements, without formal legal documents, complicating planning and land use determination. Several ancient stone formations and ethnically significant architectural sites remain unsurveyed due to limited access and funding. Dongvan exemplifies a highland settlement structure with strong self-governance, operating outside the bounds of conventional administrative systems and modern data frameworks. Staithes is enclosed by high cliffs, isolated from modern transport routes and accessible only through narrow coastal paths. The village holds an ancient atmosphere with small, dark stone houses, low roofs, and moss-covered walls, forming a setting unchanged over time. The community operates under spoken rules, without signs or modern constructions interrupting the shared space. Residents live through craftsmanship, near-shore fishing, and seasonal rituals that remain active every year. Gatherings take place regularly without public announcements, bringing together villagers across generations. Visitors often walk along old trails between cliff walls, join the single daily market, or simply sit on stone steps observing the quiet and steady rhythm of life. Hidden within the largest freshwater lake in the region, Isla de Ometepe is formed entirely by two opposing volcanoes, joined by a natural land bridge. There are no highways to reach this place. All access depends on small daily ferries operated by locals. Residents make a living from banana farming, cacao processing, and hold traditional lunar cycle ceremonies that ignore mainstream calendars. Many families still rely on well water, wood fire stoves, and weaving techniques passed down through generations, maintaining a self-sufficient rhythm. Visitors can explore volcanic landscapes, soak in natural springs, and hear ancient folk tales told firsthand by the island's elders. Juufan is located on a mountain slope near the sea and can mainly be reached through narrow and winding roads. This village was forgotten after the mining era ended until its traditional charm brought attention again. The wooden houses with dark tile roofs, red lanterns hanging along narrow alleys, and old stone stairways form a unique layout marked by time. The community here maintains a slow lifestyle, with small tea houses, food stalls, and local markets active along tight lanes. Visitors are drawn to the quiet atmosphere, handmade crafts, and scenic spots overlooking the blend of sea and mountain. It is a place for those who want to step away from modern noise and explore the preserved features of an elevated ancient village. Chimayo is a small, secluded village in the drylands of New Mexico, where many buildings are still constructed using traditional adobe methods. Some house clusters do not appear on official tourist maps and are passed down through generations by word of mouth. Rituals involving this earth are still held regularly but not publicly, and outsiders may only join if connected to the local community. Many artisans here do not sell their work outside, but exchange handmade crafts through a private trust network. Visitors are encouraged to walk dirt paths to discover carved stone walls marked with ancient religious symbols, mostly lacking formal interpretation. Gweju is a secluded coastal village on the eastern side of Zanzibar, where daily life still follows the tides and lunar cycles. The village has no formal addressing system, and navigation relies on natural signs like palm tree shapes, wave marks, or sand trails to the sea. Many houses are built entirely from hand-harvested coral and roofed with palm leaves without any official construction records. Some families still use bamboo channels and underground pits to collect and store rainwater for daily use. Visitors accompanied by locals may join in traditional net fishing or follow hidden paths to tidal flats where seaweed and clams are gathered. These areas have no warning signs or maps and often vanish under rising water, making the village seem to appear only at certain times of day. Tucked between wild grasslands and completely cut off by a wide river, Bontebok is the smallest national park in South Africa, but one of the most strictly protected and distinctive in the entire continent. Visitors must follow one-way driving routes with no phone signal and a strict daily entry limit, creating near-perfect conditions to observe the once-endangered Bontebok antelope. The main lodge stands out with classic Cape Dutch architecture, thatch roofs, whitewashed walls, and raised wooden decks designed to preserve the natural skyline. Explorers can walk through grasslands with bilingual info signs, cycle past blooming flower fields, or paddle along the calm stretch of river. Over 200 bird species live here year-round, especially the blue crane, South Africa's national bird, often spotted at sunrise. In spring, visitors can join community events featuring ancient rituals and displays of native medicinal plants, offering a rare cultural experience in a pristine landscape. No railway, no settlements along the road, and no phone signal for nearly 280 miles of desert. Yet Dakhla attracts thousands of visitors each year just to kiteboard on its glassy waters. The city stretches along a 25-mile peninsula into the Atlantic Ocean, fully isolated and connected to the mainland by a single highway through uninhabited desert. Due to its politically sensitive location, it is excluded from mainstream travel routes and receives only a few domestic flights each day. Buildings here are minimal, with sand-colored concrete walls, wind-shielded courtyards, and narrow windows adapted to constant winds averaging 23 miles per year year-round. The local Sahrawi people preserve the custom of serving 3 rounds of tea, wear traditional full-body robes, and speak Hassaniya alongside modern Arabic. The shallow lagoon offers a rich supply of oysters and red snapper, and is a top destination for extreme water sports during 9 months of the year. Tanna is one of the few islands that still maintain an original social structure in a world that changes every day. Located deep within the Vanuatu archipelago, the island is home to communities that do not use electricity, have no phone signal, and live without internet, relying entirely on self-sufficiency. Some groups here preserve their indigenous beliefs, speak traditional languages, and maintain ancient rituals, as if the modern world had never arrived. Many inland areas are not shown on detailed maps, and access is only granted with approval from village chiefs. Mount Yasur remains quietly active, serving as a natural boundary that keeps the area under watch, even though there are no formal warning systems for outsiders. Tanna is one of the rare places where the line between the modern world and untouched spaces still exists clearly, forming a reality that stands apart from everything else. While the rest of the island nation opens to the world, Savaii remains like a land forgotten by time, disconnected from both modern life and standard administrative systems. Main roads remain unpaved and are often cut off after heavy rain, with some areas lacking proper signage. Instead of operating under a national administrative system, many villages follow traditional governance, where all decisions are made by councils of elders. Some inland zones are entirely without electricity or mobile signal, making geological monitoring and environmental data collection inconsistent. In these areas, unusual landforms like sinkholes or thermal springs have been reported but never officially studied. Although Savaii holds potential for ecotourism, the island continues to move at its own slow pace, largely disconnected from global trends. Located on a remote island in the Pacific Ocean, Alofi is one of the world's smallest and least populated capitals. The town was once completely abandoned after a powerful cyclone, forcing the entire population to evacuate for several years. Although a small group later returned, much of the area remains unchanged from the period of abandonment, creating a scene that is half deserted, half inhabited. Government buildings, schools, and churches are still in use, but they are surrounded by empty residential zones. Life in Alofi is slow and isolated, as access to goods and services depends on irregular shipping schedules. Dense forests growing right up to the village center blur the boundary between nature and human settlement. Rougon is located on top of a high limestone mountain, surrounded by steep cliffs and deep ravines, making it nearly impossible to reach by standard road access. The rugged terrain and constant swirling winds have prevented geological and climate survey tools from functioning properly, leading to a lack of official data for many years. Certain parts of the mountain slope show sudden changes in air pressure that distort or cancel sound for short periods. In 1584, a group of pilgrims was recorded as disappearing after passing a rocky path, leaving no trace afterward. Local residents avoid that area, believing that navigation devices fail there and all sound is completely silenced. Researchers have reported magnetic instability and inconsistent readings during surveys. Kumzar lies isolated at the northern tip of Oman, surrounded by arid mountains and a rugged shoreline, and it can only be reached by boat after a sea journey that lasts from several hours to half a day. This isolation makes the village one of the hardest coastal communities to access on the Arabian Peninsula and helps preserve its almost untouched landscape. Houses are low, with thick stone walls, flat roofs, and small windows facing the sea. A design that reduces heat and withstands strong winds all year. Residents live mainly from fishing and safeguard Kumzari, a rare, independent language passed down through generations. Daily life moves at a slow pace, with traditional practices ranging from fish processing after landing to evening story and telling for children. Visitors can watch uncommercialized coastal routines, hike mountain paths overlooking clear water, and listen to the Kumzari language echo in the quiet surroundings. Aranastapi is located in the southwest of Iceland, surrounded by cold volcanic mountains and a rugged, rocky coastline. There is only one road that leads into the village, and the journey is long, often affected by strong winds and snow. Because of its remote position, the village has avoided overdevelopment and has kept its original state for decades. The houses are made of wood with sloped roofs and light-colored paint scattered across black volcanic terrain. The residents make a living by fishing and processing seafood, and they continue to follow traditional customs in food communication and daily routines. Anastapi does not host large tourist events, but visitors can walk along the coast, observe seabirds nesting on high rock formations, and explore basalt terrain with unusual shapes. Glencoe is a large rocky valley formed by ancient volcanic activity, with steep cliffs, barren ground, and scattered giant rocks with unknown origins. The area has rugged terrain with mist-covered peaks, underground waterfalls, and magma rock layers that change color under different light, creating a dry and unstable climate. Research teams have reported magnetic field shifts at various locations, causing compass errors and frequent disruptions in depth measurements. In the deepest parts of the valley, GPS signals often fail due to heavy fog and high humidity. Some campers have reported hearing human-like voices at dawn and dusk, with no identifiable source. There are also accounts of mechanical watches slowing down by several minutes after passing the southern rock slope, even when temperature and pressure remain unchanged. Egersheim stays quiet because it is away from major roads, but still easy to reach by car. Its circular layout leads walkers back to the center without needing directions, and the stone streets have barely changed over the centuries. The houses are easy to recognize, with exposed wooden frames, light-colored walls, low roofs, and windows filled with flower boxes. Inside many homes, there are old wine cellars still in use, where people ferment grapes and bottle wine by hand. There are no large events, but each harvest becomes an open invitation with tables set up, wine served, and each bottle explained with personal stories. Visitors do not need guides, because walking long enough shows every detail clearly: people pressing grapes, washing bottles, and telling how each season went. Gurami is located in central Turkey and is known for its soft rock landscape shaped by wind and rain into tall columns and cone formations. The area can be reached by road, but the long route through semi-desert terrain helps preserve its sense of isolation. Architecture in Guram is unique because many homes and buildings are carved directly into the rock without using standard construction materials. People have lived in these rock dwellings for centuries and continue to organize their spaces in traditional ways. Some families still make pottery, weave textiles, or run small workshops inside their living spaces. Visitors can walk through narrow rock passages, visit active cave homes or workshops, and observe how people and stone share the same living space. Yakushima is a granite island with high humidity, featuring layered ancient forests where thousand-year-old cedar trees grow directly on steep rocky ground covered in green moss. The terrain rises quickly from sea level to mountains, causing sudden shifts in temperature and long periods of rain, depending on elevation. Many forest areas are inaccessible by footpaths, and GPS or radio signals often fail deep inside due to thick vegetation and dense rock layers. Some researchers reported sudden disorientation even when devices worked properly, and some unknowingly walked in circles without realizing it. On very humid days, metallic echo-like sounds have been heard in the forest without a clear source, and no scientific study has explained this yet. The mix of ancient forest layers, signal disruption, and spatial confusion has made Yakushima a biologically rich site still full of unknowns. Soglio stands on a mountainside in southeastern Switzerland, about 3,600 feet above sea level, and it is reached by a single steep road that winds for 8 miles along cliffs and is sometimes covered in light mist before revealing valleys filled with pine. Granite houses, some 3 or 4 centuries old, sit close together with dark slate roofs, stone courtyards, and barrels of pickled apples beside fountains that flow all year. Only a few hundred residents live here, and they meet most needs themselves by herding goats for cheese, curing meat under eaves, and weaving wool when snow blocks the pass. The main square hosts weekend markets where violin music rises and church bells announce the moment to place loaves in a shared wood-fired oven. Visitors follow ancient stone paths to herb terraces, pause on balconies of stone to breathe the cold air, and watch mountain peaks change color in late afternoon. They end the day with dinners of freshly picked vegetables and handmade cheese served at a family table inside a granite home. Mestia is located deep in the northwestern mountains of Georgia, where steep terrain and months of snow once made the area almost completely isolated from the outside world. The town is known for its centuries-old stone defense towers, built by Svan families, many of which have not yet been fully surveyed or mapped. Strange carvings have been found on stone walls, showing symbols that do not match any known historical writing system in the region. What makes Mestia unique is that it has preserved its traditional way of life, language, and customs without being changed by modernization or mass tourism. The Canary Islands are the only place in Europe where active volcanoes and sand deserts coexist, creating a rare intersection of arid climate and young volcanic terrain. The archipelago is formed from basalt and marine sediment, cut by deep ravines, steep slopes, and dry lava basins that create clearly stratified landforms. Some valleys near the coast have experienced daytime dry fog, caused by moisture absorption into hot rock surfaces, resulting in sudden, localized air dryness. The terrestrial ecosystem includes lava lizards, Galotia, and endemic cacti that thrive in saline, arid soil scattered across the black rocky landscape. With young volcanic geology, extreme biological conditions, and rare atmospheric effects, the Canary Islands serve as a key research site for coastal climate, geomorphology, and evolutionary biology. Sansirk-la-Popie is an ancient stone village perched on a cliff above the Lot River, where steep terrain and medieval urban design have long prevented expansion or integration into modern infrastructure networks. For centuries, the village remained relatively isolated, accessible only by narrow roads along the hillside. Although known for its well-preserved architecture, most homes are still passed down through generations without full synchronization with the National Digital Cadastre. Several peripheral dwellings and secondary pathways remain unmapped in detail due to limited technical access and strict heritage preservation guidelines. Saint-Cirq-la-Popie stands as a model of a historic settlement operating within French legal boundaries, yet spatially functioning beyond the scope of contemporary administrative oversight. Ait Ben Haddou is a traditional fortified earthen settlement situated along the slopes of the Atlas Mountains, where semi-arid terrain and seasonal river shifts made access extremely difficult for centuries. Entry routes remain limited by rocky hills and unstable ground, leaving many parts of the village excluded from modern cadastral mapping systems. Ait Ben Haddou stands as a globally significant heritage settlement that continues to operate largely outside contemporary administrative and data governance systems. Hida Furukawa is a small town deep in the mountains of Gifu Prefecture, historically isolated by the rugged Hida Range and fragmented river systems. While transport connections exist today, many older residential zones remain absent from detailed digital maps due to narrow, irregular street layouts and organically developed settlement patterns. Land ownership follows traditional family lineage, with some areas lacking formal cadastral records due to undocumented intra-family transfers. Numerous wooden houses have yet to be three-dimensionally surveyed or officially registered as heritage assets, as they fall outside national preservation priorities. Its combination of geographic seclusion, historical depth, and fragmented governance makes it a settlement functioning beyond the bounds of modern urban planning. Père Rouge is a medieval hilltop village in the Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes region, where elevated terrain, cobblestone paths, and a walled urban structure preserved since the 15th century limit integration into modern administrative systems. Main alleys are narrow and winding, failing to meet current infrastructure standards and hindering the deployment of full spatial survey equipment. Many homes and properties are held through traditional forms of ownership without digital cadastral registration, creating legal and planning data gaps. Perouge persists as a functioning cultural and historical settlement that operates largely outside the standardized administrative frameworks of modern France. Tossa de Mar is a Mediterranean coastal town in Catalonia, best known for Vila Vella, its walled medieval quarter, one of the few of its kind still intact in Spain. The urban fabric inside the fortress developed organically prior to modern zoning, with narrow stone alleys and densely packed homes lacking formal subdivision systems, complicating 3D planning and digital mapping. Some properties in this area remain under multi-generational family ownership without full registration in the national cadastral system, resulting in legal data inconsistencies. Heritage preservation is managed by local entities under self-regulated frameworks, which leads to irregular updates in technical records and administrative files. Tossa de Mar stands as a notable case of a historically significant settlement that largely operates outside Spain's modern administrative and planning standards. Disquet is a settlement deep within the Nubra Valley of Ladakh, entirely disconnected from India's national urban network due to cold desert terrain, high mountain passes, and prolonged extreme weather. Although it functions as the administrative center of the valley, Disquet lacks year-round transport connectivity with major roads often closed due to snow or landslides, delaying cadastral surveys and modern infrastructure development. Many residential clusters operate on community-based or informal land agreements, unregistered in India's legal property system, resulting in administrative data voids. Disket exemplifies a high-altitude settlement operating beyond modern administrative planning, where technical and legal frameworks lag behind lived spatial realities.